What's up guys, my name is Austin Black and I'm going to talk to you about my infrastructure for all my professional shoots. So this is something that's a little bit boring to talk about, but I think it's important to be said because when you do your infrastructure well, no one really notices, the clients don't notice, but when things go wrong, it could be completely catastrophic if you lose somebody's footage. If you try to pull a project back up and not everything reconnects, you've got missing elements. So I want to talk to you about my setup, what I do with all my files from after the shoot all the way through the edit and then the archive. So the first thing I do, I've got my footage on the SD cards. Typically if I'm doing a wedding, that is 3 cameras, 2 lav mics, 1 audio recorder, and the drone. And so I have 2 external drives and I'm going to copy to both of these. One is going to be the master and one is going to be a temporary backup. Now this is a really important step because one hard drive could easily fail, especially if it's a spinning drive. These things do not last forever and you could drop it, you could get lost. So always back up to 2 separate places to start. So I typically just use these 4 terabyte Seagate drives. They're like a couple $100. Ultimately, the masters will remain on these drives, so I have easy access to them. So this is a drive from 2017. It has all my stuff from 2017. This has all my stuff from 2018. So that's just kind of how I short-term can access files quickly. I have a longer-term archive that I'll get into later. Okay, so let's say this one is the master and I'm ready to edit. This file is next in the queue, so I will then copy it to my MacBook Pro. This is the primary computer that I use to edit the wedding highlight films. I edit off of the local drive, 1 project at a time. That's how I get the best results editing. I shoot Sony. Sony does XAVC 4K, which can be a little bit heavy for your editing system. I'm just fine with this 2016 MacBook Pro. And then behind me, I have a 2015 iMac. Okay, so then I bring everything into Premiere and everything is laid out pretty organized. I have folders for each camera, folders for each audio thing. One thing that I like to do just for a little bit of extra organization is going in and putting all of my files in 3 folders, 1 for prep, 1 for ceremony, 1 for reception. This can vary if you're doing a different kind of project, but just think of it like you could do a folder for interviews, a folder for B-roll, etc., etc. It's important just to make those little dividers because the time it takes to search for files will really add up and you won't really notice it until after the fact. And it's one of those things where it's like, it takes 2 seconds to do, but it seems like it's a huge deal and you just don't really want to do it. But if you do it, it'll save you a ton of time in the long run. So that's something that's super important for me. So okay, the highlight film is edited at this point. So it will go back on the master drive to be placed on the iMac. So the iMac is kind of where I will be doing all of the different elements like the ceremony, the toast, all of these longer form things that's a little bit less in depth but more processing heavy. So I can get started on the next project on my laptop while I'm doing these slower, more processing driven tasks on the iMac. So one thing that's really important to remember is you want these projects to always reconnect. So the elements folder on my MacBook Pro that has all of my music and my light leaks, all of these things, is a mirror image of what's on my iMac. And the really tricky thing is the place in the Premiere package contents where you put all your LUTs needs to match on both computers. Otherwise, you're gonna take it to the other computer and you're gonna open it up and it's gonna reconnect to a completely different LUT, which is the most maddening thing because you have to go back through and regrade every single clip that you used a LUT on. So don't make that mistake. I've made that mistake and it sucks. So just make sure if you're working with 2 computers like this, that they match exactly. Everything's going to reconnect when you open the project. That's huge. And you also want older projects to reconnect on whatever computer you need it. You never know, clients always reach out. They may need, something changed, a late revision. So you wanna be able to quickly get that to them without having this whole process of reconnecting everything. When you're doing a large volume of projects, organization becomes so key because you just want to keep going. You just want to keep rolling, keep working on to the next one. You don't want to worry about these stupid things like finding one file or stuff isn't working properly in the project. It's just a waste of time. Okay, so once the project is completed on my iMac, it's then ready to be archived. Well, almost archived. If it's a normal project like a vlog or something like that, then it's ready to go. But what I do with any project that's not mine, say a wedding film, a client video, I don't want to archive every single bit of data because my wedding files are usually 200 to 300 gigs, and that can really add up and be really expensive. So what I do is I reach out to my client and I say, hey, I'm about to media manage this project. Is there anything else you want? I have all of the elements that I need to recreate this project, but I won't be able to access any of the raw footage anymore. So at that point, I will go ahead and media manage the project. It'll delete all the footage that I didn't use in the final project, and it'll probably cut the size in half. So at that point, I'm ready to archive. I think it's important to keep some semblance of your raw files because you never know when you might want to pull something for a reel or a portfolio or to send a client an example. Or say you want to repost this project but you don't like the way it was graded, you have the ability to completely recreate it from scratch if you want to. So I have a very budget-friendly but really nice archive system. I have what's called an icy dock. This thing is like between $100 and $200, and I think it's a great option for backing things up. You can put 2 bare hard drives in there. I have 2 Seagate Barracuda 8 terabyte hard drives, and they are RAID 1, which means that the 2 drives are mirror images of each other. So I will dump my project there. It gets copied to those 2 drives. Now the project, like I said, remains on this drive for my own convenience if I need to access them, but I have 2 copies that are in this cold storage that is really rock solid. If one of the drives fails, there's redundancy. There's also redundancy with this one. So I've got 3 backups ultimately, and I think that's a system where you're not gonna lose many files. Once the 8 terabyte drive is filled up, I put it in a case like this, and one of them stays with me and one of them goes to another location. So here are the spinning drives that I use. What's interesting about these drives is they're actually pretty nice spinning drives. You can save some money though if you buy them in an enclosure and then you just kind of take apart that enclosure with a screwdriver. You're not really supposed to do that, but it actually, inside you'll find a nice drive and you'll save about, I don't know, $50, $75. On that note, all of this stuff is in my kit. They are affiliated links. If you want to purchase this stuff and get your infrastructure started up, it supports the channel at no extra cost to you. One little thing I didn't mention is I also have this Samsung T5 SSD. I really like this thing. I use it for editing projects when I'm not ready to maybe do the whole highlight. Say I want to edit a trailer or something right away. I'll just go ahead and copy it to this thing so it's a little bit faster than those spinning drives, and I can edit a trailer really fast on this because editing on spinning drives is not very fun. So anyways, that's it. My name is Austin Black. Hope you learned something. Let me know what your infrastructure is, what your setup is down in the comments. I'd love to know. I'd love to chat about it, and I'll see you in the next video.